The year was 1921. The world was still healing from the wounds of the Great War, and people clung to beauty, dreams, and voyages that promised new beginnings. At the heart of this hopeful era, the RMS Celestia stood proudly in the Liverpool dock, a magnificent ocean liner, rivaling even the mighty Titanic in grace and grandeur. She was destined for New York, carrying with her not just people but secrets, ambitions, and a love story that would echo across generations. Among the throng of eager passengers was Evelyn Wycliffe, a 19-year-old heiress born into wealth, privilege, and expectation. Her father, Lord Reginald Wycliffe, was a revered shipping magnate, and the Celestia was partly his crown jewel. But Evelyn was no pampered aristocrat. Beneath her porcelain complexion and tailored gowns lay a restless spirit. She longed to write, to paint, to escape the stiff corset of nobility. Yet on this voyage she wasn't traveling for freedom. She was being escorted to New York for an arranged engagement to the son of a powerful American railroad tycoon, an alliance meant to solidify empires. Meanwhile, in the underbelly of the ship, among the third-class quarters where laughter was louder and dreams bigger, was Luca Moretti, a 22-year-old Italian artist with nothing to his name but a leather sketchbook, a harmonica, and a heart full of fire. He had boarded the Celestia with the help of a ticket won in a card game in Marseille. His dream was simple: reach America, find work, and one day have a gallery of his own. But fate, with all its cruel poetry, had other plans. On the second evening at sea, Evelyn wandered away from the ballroom, tired of the waltzes and the suffocating conversation of titled guests. Wrapped in a velvet shawl, she slipped onto one of the upper decks, seeking silence. Below, near the lower railing, Luca sat on a crate, playing his harmonica to the rhythm of the waves. His music drifted upward, gentle and raw, threading through the wind like a secret. Drawn by the sound, Evelyn leaned over the balustrade, her eyes searching. Their gazes met, hers curious and luminous, his bold and full of wonder. It was a fleeting moment, just seconds, but the kind that writes the beginning of destinies. The following morning, Evelyn found herself near the cargo deck again. Luca was sketching the sunrise with charcoal on rough paper. She approached, hesitant yet intrigued. "You play music," she said. "And you walk like you own the wind," he replied with a grin. That was how it began. Evelyn sat beside Luca on a bench hidden behind the ship's laundry deck, far from the scrutiny of first-class eyes. The ocean stretched endlessly, reflecting the colors of dawn, and the steam rising from the ship's exhaust created dancing ghosts in the golden light. "You're not like the others," Luca said, holding up a sketch of Evelyn from the night before. Her hair was loose, her gaze far away. She hadn't noticed him sketching. They were masked. "You don't?" She tried to smile. "And you don't belong down here," she said, meaning it as a compliment. "You should be in a gallery in Paris." He chuckled. "I've never even been to Paris. Too busy running from debts, playing in bars, sleeping under bridges." Her smile faded. "I envy you." He looked at her, startled. "You envy me?" Evelyn nodded. "You have your freedom." Over the next few days, Evelyn found excuses to return to the lower decks. The ship was like a floating city, grand staircases, gilded dining rooms, and endless corridors, but it was the third-class section that felt alive. Luca introduced her to his world. She met the Irish siblings who sang in the corridors, the Serbian coal stoker who could balance a bottle on his head, and the Polish widow who made soup in a hidden corner with smuggled herbs. There she danced for the first time without gloves, without eyes judging her every move. Luca's hand on her waist was electric, grounding her to the floor and lifting her to the stars. They spun in time to an old violin, laughter echoing through the rusted pipes. Upstairs, her fiancé, Nathaniel Harrington, was beginning to suspect something. Nathaniel was a man of numbers, polished shoes, and strategic smiles. He didn't love Evelyn, but he prized her family name, and what it would mean when his railways merged with Wycliffe Shipping. He was patient but no fool. One rainy afternoon, Evelyn snuck into Luca's tiny cabin. It smelled of coal dust, tobacco and sea salt. On the wall, dozens of sketches were pinned haphazardly, faces, birds, broken clocks and one of her. She sat on the narrow bed as Luca unrolled his tools. "Paint me," she whispered. He looked up, surprised. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I want to see myself through your eyes." As the rain drummed on the steel above, he sketched. Charcoal first, then pastels, his fingers smudged, moving across the page like a prayer. She sat bare-shouldered, eyes closed, trusting him entirely. When he finished, they didn't speak. They didn't need to. He leaned forward, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Their first kiss tasted like salt and pencil dust. 2 days before arrival in New York, whispers of trouble began to spread among the crew. An unexpected cold front. Icebergs farther south than usual. Captain Whitmore, an old friend of Evelyn's father, assured the first-class passengers that Celestia was unsinkable, a marvel of British engineering. But down in the engine rooms, the stokers were overworked. The ice warnings were piling up. Some officers wanted to slow down. But the captain had a schedule to keep and reputations to protect. Meanwhile, Nathaniel followed Evelyn one evening and saw her disappear below deck. He waited in the shadows until he saw Luca. The next morning, Evelyn awoke to find a note on her breakfast tray. "Your lover has been detained. He's being kept in the brig. We sail for New York and you will never see him again. Do not disgrace your family further. N.H." Evelyn stormed to the captain's quarters. Her face was white with fury. "I demand he be released," she shouted. Captain Whitmore's face was grave. "You've put your father's name at risk, Evelyn. He's a free man. He's done nothing wrong." "Not in the eyes of law," the captain said gently. "But in the eyes of society? You've crossed a line, my dear." She left in tears. That night she didn't return to the ballroom. She stood on the edge of the ship's bow, wind howling in her ears, heart breaking in silence. Luca, behind bars in the brig, could only imagine her face. It was just before midnight when the lookout cried out, "Iceberg! Dead ahead!" The Celestia struck its starboard. A shudder rolled through the decks like thunder from deep in the earth. Plates crashed. Lights flickered. The ship groaned. Evelyn was thrown from her bed. She ran barefoot through the corridor, panic in the air. The metallic screech haunted every corner. Below, Luca yelled until a young steward, pale and trembling, unlocked the brig door and shouted, "Run!" Luca emerged into chaos. As passengers crowded lifeboats, Evelyn searched for Luca through the screaming masses. The ship was tilting now. Water rushed in from the lower decks. She screamed his name over and over. At last, by the staircase near the grand chandelier, she saw him, drenched, soot-streaked, alive. They ran to each other and kissed like the world was burning. "We have to go," he shouted. But lifeboats were being lowered, only women and children. "You go," Luca said. "Now?" She shook her head. "No. I won't leave you." More water surged. He grabbed her hand and led her to the stern, where the last boat was being lowered. A kind officer helped her in. "I'll be right behind," Luca promised. But Evelyn saw the gate close. He wasn't let on. As the ship groaned and twisted, Luca climbed higher. Water swallowed the decks like a monster's mouth. People screamed. Some jumped. The lights flickered, then died. From her lifeboat, Evelyn watched as the Celestia snapped in two. The bow sank quickly. The stern rose almost vertical. Then silence. And then, a roar as it plunged beneath the waves. She screamed until her voice broke. All around her, the cold claimed the fallen. Frozen hands, broken wood, forgotten names. Hours passed. When dawn broke, a rescue ship arrived. Bodies floated in the blue. Evelyn was pulled aboard, half-conscious, shivering. She kept whispering his name. They told her no one survived from the lower decks. No one named Luca Moretti. In New York, Evelyn refused to go to her engagement. She vanished instead, renting a tiny flat in Brooklyn and changing her name. She painted. She taught art to children. She lived simply. Years passed. She never married. But on her bedroom wall hung a charcoal portrait, a girl with windswept hair and eyes full of longing. In 1972, a journalist researching survivors of the Celestia found an old man in Naples. His name was Luca Moretti. He had been rescued by a French trawler hours after the sinking and had spent years believing Evelyn had drowned. He never married either. When shown a picture of her at age 70, white-haired but smiling, he wept. He said only, "She was my only masterpiece." They never saw each other again. But in two different homes, half a world apart, hung the same portrait. The girl with wind in her hair.